The message was never meant for her. Arman Qureshi stared at his cracked phone screen as the word sent icon blinked once, then disappeared into the void. His chest tightened instantly. That number, it wasn't his landlord. It wasn't even saved. His thumb trembled as he reread what he had just sent. Please, I just need $50 to get through the week. I'll pay it back, I promise. It felt like his dignity had slipped through his fingers with that single tap. Outside his small, dim apartment, the afternoon sun hung high, but inside, everything felt heavy, dim, and suffocating. His 6-year-old daughter, Meher, sat quietly on the floor coloring with half-broken crayons, her stomach probably as empty as his. The silence between them was not peaceful, it was survival. Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the unexpected ways life can change, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Story House. Stories like this remind us that hope sometimes arrives when we least expect it. Arman had never imagined his life would come to this. Once, he had been a proud schoolteacher, known for his patience and gentle voice. But after his wife passed away suddenly from illness 2 years ago, everything unraveled slowly, like threads pulling loose from an old sweater. Medical bills drained his savings. Grief drained his spirit. And eventually, layoffs took his job. Now, every day was a battle, not just to survive, but to keep Meher smiling, even when the world gave him nothing in return. He had meant to message his landlord, a man who had already shown him more patience than most would. $50, that was all he needed to keep the electricity running and buy groceries for a few days. But instead, his shaking hands had typed in the wrong number. He sighed deeply, placing the phone face down as if hiding from his own mistake. There would be no reply. Why would there be? People didn't just hand out money, especially to strangers begging through text messages. It was embarrassing. Desperate. Hours passed slowly, like thick syrup dripping through time. Meher eventually fell asleep on the thin mattress, clutching her worn-out stuffed rabbit. Arman sat beside her, watching her breathe, his heart aching with a quiet promise he wasn't sure he could keep, to protect her, to provide, to somehow make everything okay again. Night fell. The city outside softened into shadows and distant sounds of passing cars. Inside, darkness wrapped around them like a heavy blanket. The power flickered once, twice, and then went out completely. Arman closed his eyes. This was it. Then, just as the silence grew unbearable, there was a knock on the door. Not loud. Not aggressive. Just, steady. Arman frowned. No one visited at this hour. His heart pounded as he stood up slowly, careful not to wake Meher. Another knock followed, slightly firmer this time. He opened the door cautiously. And froze. Standing there, illuminated by the faint glow of the hallway light, was a woman unlike anyone he had ever seen in his neighborhood. Her presence was calm yet commanding, dressed simply but with an unmistakable air of confidence. Her eyes were sharp, observant, but not unkind. She held up her phone. "You texted me," she said quietly. Arman's throat went dry. I think there's been a mistake." She nodded slightly, stepping inside without waiting for permission, as if she already understood everything. Her gaze moved across the small apartment, the peeling paint, the empty shelves, the sleeping child. "My name is Saira Rahman," she said. The name hit him like a distant echo. He had heard it before, on news channels, in articles. A billionaire entrepreneur. A woman known for building empires from nothing. He swallowed hard, unsure whether to apologize or explain himself. "I didn't mean to message you," he said finally, his voice low with shame. "I was trying to reach someone else. I'm sorry." Saira looked at him for a long moment. Not judging. Not pitying. Just, seeing. "Why $50?" she asked. The question was simple, but it carried weight. Arman hesitated, then answered honestly. Food. Electricity. Just enough to get by until I find something, anything. There was no dramatic pause. No disbelief. Just silence. Then, unexpectedly, she walked over to Meher and gently adjusted the thin blanket covering her. The small act felt heavier than any grand gesture. I grew up like this, Syra said softly. People think money changes everything. It doesn't erase where you come from. Arman didn't know what to say. His pride told him to refuse help. His reality told him he couldn't. Syra reached into her bag and placed an envelope on the table. It wasn't thick. It wasn't flashy. Just enough. Take this, she said. No conditions. No repayment. Arman stared at it, his hands unmoving. Why? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. She gave a small, almost sad smile. Because someone once showed up for me when I had nothing. And sometimes, the universe sends messages to the wrong number for the right reason. Tears filled his eyes before he could stop them. That night didn't fix everything. It didn't magically erase his struggles or solve every problem. But it changed something deeper, something within him. Hope. In the weeks that followed, Arman used the help wisely. He found part-time work, then something steadier. Slowly, life began to rebuild itself, brick by fragile brick. Meher laughed more. The apartment felt warmer, even before the electricity returned fully. And every once in a while, Arman would look at his phone and remember that night, the mistake that wasn't really a mistake. Because sometimes, life doesn't knock loudly. Sometimes, it arrives quietly, at midnight, when you've almost given up. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness still exists in this world, take a moment to like, comment, and share it with someone who needs a little hope today. And before we end, here's something special. Comment below with one word, hope, if you believe that even the smallest act of kindness can change someone's life.